when you asked me that, I said that I cannot feel sorry for a group of people who sympathize with neo-Nazis.
And you think all Ukrainians sympathize with neo-Nazis?
Well, I don't see them trying to get them out now, do I? Hey guys, so Anya and I are going to have a discussion, and I'll go ahead and start it off. She did not, she had some problems with, not problems, but I guess you could say, wanted to correct some things that I was saying in reference to Ukraine. She doesn't like Putin. I'm liking me some Putin. And so there's that. Oh, by the way, the links to the videos you gave me, I was able to see them, but they don't really do much or anything because there's no context to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard if you don't understand Russian, but it's and if you're not familiar with a lot of the places in Ukraine. But that's one thing. I'm sorry if you wanted to finish your introduction, but you can go on.
Yeah, I mean, it was, to me, I was like, okay, it looks like the same propaganda I was looking at on Twitter.
Yeah, that was one thing that I found really that one point that you made that I really liked, because it is absolutely true that there's a lot of people out there that do want their 15 seconds of fame by posting all kinds of stuff, and that goes from both sides. Mm-hmm. And you have to be very careful where you get your sources from, and it's a lot easier when you understand Russian, like I do. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, once you understand Russian, you also understand Ukrainian a bit to an extent, so you kind of understand the context more of some of these videos, and you're able to tell which ones are real, which ones are fake.
Right.
But yeah, before we start, I'd like to say thank you for your service. I greatly respect officers, and as I'm from Chicago, and I know what it's like where police officers don't receive enough funding. We can use more police officers where I live. So.
Yeah. Well, that's that blue city, defund the police. They need that community policing going on over there.
Yeah,
so.
That's another point. Another thing that you were talking about was about this, the carjacking from like Ukrainian citizens that recently got. Yeah, guns.
Let me give you that.
Because I was really confused where you got that from.
It's hold on a second. Turns out it was neo-Nazis. I'll give it to you. Let's see.
Because it sounds more, because whenever I try to look it up, I get news articles about the Ukrainian village, which is an area in Chicago, and Chicago, there's carjackings everywhere these days.
How should I send it to you?
Maybe email would be
okay. I think
best.
I can send it to you.
Yeah, that might
be email.
easier.
Hold on a second.
That would be because I am.
Hold on.
Because otherwise, I was quite confused. But I guess a little bit background about. I mean, I've studied this region, like the USSR, the Iron Curtain, and the successor states for over 5 years. I've visited this region. I've interacted with many of its people. I speak Russian. I've also worked for the Republican Party for a portion of my professional career. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could say I'm a specialist in this region.
Okay. So, by the way, it's emailed to you. Okay, go ahead. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. So anytime I get a chance to talk about this region, I always get excited and I always jump at the chance, because where I live, there's not a lot of people that get too excited unless they are immigrants from that region. Yeah. I'm going to have to look into this video.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and listen to it. Go ahead.
The problem is in a lot of these cases that sometimes there's parts of Ukraine that also speak Russian as well. So sometimes it's also hard to tell which side is what. But looking at the best, they do indeed look like civilians. But at the same time, there's is that a phone he has that he's filming this on?
Possible. I know there's a woman in that's filming it from down there. Let me see.
Yeah, because I mean, like there, I was looking at the.
Let me see. Where did you give me the time?
Let's see here.
What time mark?
Oh, the corner. Looking at the corner. This is from Weibo. So some Chinese media shared it, which.
No, I don't see anybody with a camera.
Oh no! Like at the very end, at the 36 seconds, it looks like he's either texting somebody or he's taking a photo. But like, I don't know exactly what would
I
entail.
see what you're saying.
But I mean, it's a little like far away for me to understand what exactly they're saying, because there's a lot of echo and there's a lot of background birds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there's. I mean, given the context of war, I mean, looking at places like Somalia, it is understandable for stuff like that to happen.
And with the fact that Zelensky let out criminals to fight like that, I'm like, holy smokes, what a dumb thing to do.
Well, at the same time, I think it's mostly, I mean, when you're so drastically outnumbered by Russia, I mean, it's kind of hard to really think of any other way to defend your country. But there has been mandatory military service in Ukraine since, I believe, since 2014. All males 20 to 27 have been required to be to serve some time in the military. So there's a very large portion of men that there are that have a lot of trained experience, and also there's a lot of countries that are sending.
If that was the case, why say 18 through 60? And these are civilians, and I don't think there's no excuse to let out criminals to fight.
It's desperation, because Russia definitely has very, very high, much bigger numbers than Ukraine does. And I mean, given all the other, there doesn't seem like any other option. If he just said,
he could have just not fight. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you, I had some guys who act big and tough talking about some like and we actually, not even the guys talk bad. We have this show called where epic fights and police arrests, where we see this one guy who's outnumbered by the SWAT. And he's going to just shoot his way, and he gets killed every time. You know, Russia military force is nothing to play with. And when you are going against the mighty bear, like, you're not going to win this.
True, but I mean, putting up a fight still kind of, it'll at the very least drain Russia of a lot of resources, drain Russia of a lot of money, and the amount of money it takes to for Russia to put these soldiers on the ground, and with all the like financial backlash that's been going on. I mean, I still think that there's more than sanctions should be done, because like one thing you learn in when you're studying global policy is that sanctions most of the time do not work.
No, they don't.
They don't. But most of the time they actually have the opposite effect, where they actually make the person in power, like the people reliant more on the person in power. They'll have long-term effects, but that's not exactly what you're going for in a crisis such as this one. Mm-hmm. But
I don't think I see what you're saying with them. It would cost them a little bit money, but to me, is it worth the death of people? See, to me, when I look at what Russia's doing, Russia is not trying to turn Ukraine into Russia 2.0. They are going to allow, although that the person who will be in power after Zelensky will be favorable to Russia, but they're not going to take away their flag. They're not going to take away the name. They're not going to take away anything. They're just getting rid of that puppet, Zelensky, and also get rid of the Nazi problems in the Ukraine.
All right. I mean, it's okay. So to explain about this, I mostly have to cover all the different the other Soviet successor states as well, because when you look at all the Soviet successor states, the ones that are most successful, like the ones that are least corrupt, the ones that are most democratic, the ones that are most that are the best well off, or the people are the happiest, are always the countries that are aligned more towards the West. Mostly looking at Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Those are the three. Those are the three were basically right after they were the first to leave the Soviet Union. Right after they left the Soviet Union, they joined the EU. They wanted to join NATO because if they hadn't joined NATO, Russia would be going right in there right now. Mm-hmm. So they joined like as soon as they possibly could, and that's the thing about NATO. You can choose to join. It's absolutely voluntary. But
it's a club that they will. NATO chooses which one you can apply, but they'll reject you because let's not forget. Exactly. Let's not forget. Putin had asked to. Russia had. Putin had asked to join NATO, and they said no.
Yeah, Russia actually does. Like a lot of countries will work with NATO. Some like back, I think way back, maybe like the early 2000s, like right after not very far after the fall of the Soviet Union, like Russia was open to working with NATO. Yeah. So a lot of times it takes years to process their things as well. I mean, that's what happened with the Baltics. The Baltics had to make sure that they could give 2% of their GDP, make sure that they could they fit the requirements as well. But then like a lot of like from looking at it over time, it feels like it's mostly the U.S. stopped dominating NATO policy and Western Europe started taking in because you can
stop. When did the U.S. stop dominating NATO policy? When did that happen?
At least when it comes to its net memberships, because Western Europe is very, very largely anti-war, and so
they're anti-Russian.
No. There's entirety of NATO is kind of anti-Russian, but NATO has worked with Russia in the past, but that was mostly during the early times before, mostly before like Putin. I'm not sure. I have to double check what dates they were, but yeah, NATO and Russia have worked together. I think on projects maybe a bit outside of Europe. But I'm talking about mostly memberships because the reason why the country of Georgia and Ukraine were not in NATO and were never going to join NATO in the first place is because Europe's afraid of war with Russia. Because the
way they acted, it doesn't seem like they were afraid.
No, the whole
Germany,
If you saw Germany's initial reaction to like just Russia surrounding Ukraine in the first place, they were slammed so hard because Germany has a lot of places in Western Europe. Like they only after Russia invaded were they like, oh, now we're on board.
From my understanding, we were not going to throw them out. When I say we, I'm talking about America. We're not going to throw them out of SWIFT. Until the EU decided, we're giving them sanctions, we're going to throw them out of SWIFT over here. And then we followed, of course, Poopy Pants Biden decided to follow along. My thing is that Zelensky was trying to get, even though, yes, you're right, NATO was not, but we don't know. And a part of me thinking we don't know because, as a matter of fact, we know that NATO has expanded since their establishment. So there could be a chance that they would take Zelensky on his opportunity to offer to join NATO.
I think the recent talks when they say, oh, Ukraine could possibly join NATO are mostly symbolic because, again, Europe is you have to get Europe's consent on it. And Europe, especially countries like Germany, when you have that kind of past, Germany has been hesitant about anything relating to war ever since the end of the
I
Second
love
World War.
Germany, but you can't trust
yeah.
Germany. I
Yeah,
lived
exactly.
there. You can't trust
Exactly.
Germany. So they can't be trusted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like when they were saying, "Oh, we'll send like 1,000 helmets to Ukraine," they were laughed at because everyone else was taking this seriously, and Germany is like, we don't want to end our Russian oil," even though the U.S. warned them, "Hey, if you're gonna keep taking Russian oil, you're gonna be absolutely dependent on Russian oil, and Russia is gonna take advantage of that." But like, there's so much. Part of it has to deal with the guilt of World War II because the Soviets were the ones that took out the Nazis. When like it's like, these aren't the Soviets. This is Putin. This is Russia.
Right.
This isn't 80 years ago. This is today.
Yes. Yeah. True. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Exactly. And Putin, to me, based upon what I've been researching, has tried. He has been patient. He has been trying to, in the beginning of trying to be an ally with the United States. And for some reason, we're like, no, we don't. We want you as our enemy. When we had 9/11, Putin helped a lot with aid, and we didn't thank him at all. So we have, to me, he has been trying, and he was, of course, happy to have Trump in office. And of course, we had our politicians like Hillary Clinton and everybody talking about Trump's Russian is Putin puppet, because it seemed like a lot of the presidents before Trump wanted to still not even try to come up with having Russia as an ally, not even trying to be on good terms with Russia. They still wanted to antagonize Russia. They still wanted to blame Russia for things that Russia didn't do, like meddling in the election. That's just crazy. And it's just a lot of things. And Trump was like, Putin ain't bad. Let's just have a conversation. Let's invite him to the G7 summit. And, and they hated that. Now that we got Poopy Pants Biden in the White House, it's on like popcorn, and now they are ready to which they have successfully made Russia and Russians, which I'm very angry about, the enemy.
Yeah, making the Russian people the enemy is just a very big no. I understand, it's something that normally comes naturally when you're in times of war, like during World War II, there was a high anti-Japanese, Italian, and German sentiment. During when we were battling ISIS, everyone was afraid of literally anyone coming from the Middle East.
True.
It's kind of a natural sentiment that a lot of people just need to get over. But honestly, if Trump had been in office before 2008 or even before 2014, it would have been a completely different context, because 2008 when was the first Chechen war or the second Chechen war? Somewhere before in the early 2000s, when Russia started meddling more in I think mostly when it started meddling internationally. When it came to invading Georgia in 2008, things turned very sour for a lot of Russia's relations, and also there's also the thing where I'm going
to be ignorant on Georgia because I didn't have time to study that much, but because it's so much history going. It is a lot of history. Yeah, it's a lot, and I got so stuck on the whole Ukraine, Crimea, Libya was shocking. NATO's NATO and everything. So it was. I totally don't. I don't know why they went after Russia. I'm gonna have to look that up. So I can't even have a discussion in reference to Russia because I don't really know anything about it really.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, but you have to admit you don't like Putin, so there's a bias in reference to you're explaining to me anything that happens to Russia, because like I said, I understand exactly why Putin decided to go ahead and invade Ukraine, and I don't really have a problem with it, because when I see what Zelensky is all about, and I see how they were serious talks about turning into NATO. Whether NATO was going to entertain it or not, that remains to be seen. But they went against their agreement, and also the fact that that there is a huge Nazi problem there, and they hate Russia, they hate Polish, they hate Romanians, and they hate Jews. But it seemed like they have no problem with Zelensky because he can be just a shield to block their extremist views.
Okay, I don't know where you're getting the whole hating Romanians and Poles and stuff from, because everybody I know who's
I'm
Polish,
getting it from them. They
like,
say it.
Everyone know that is Polish. Everyone know there's Ukrainians that are saying that Poland and Ukraine are like very close together. And it's,
wait a minute. You are saying that the neo-Nazis like the Poles?
No, I'm saying that the Polish people and the Ukrainian people are. Oh, you're talking about the neo.
I'm talking about the neo-Nazis. Wait, I'm like, wait, what are you talking about?
I am sorry. Okay, so there's something that always confused me about neo-Nazis, because it seems like they don't. Because it seems like they really ignore like a very big part of like what Nazism was originally founded on. Because one of the things I studied in school was General Plan Ost, which was basically what was supposed to be Hitler's plan for after he won the war, and what to do with all these countries that he conquered. And he had these quotas for like what to do with all the different people groups. And when he was planning on, like, he was also a fan of deporting people to Siberia. Fun fact. He's planning on getting rid of certain types of ethnic groups, and because the Nazis considered the Slavs subhuman.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so that's
as
what
well
confused me about neo-Nazis, because like how does anyone in these countries sympathize with the Nazi cause when the Nazis considered Slavs subhuman? That's what I find, like, because I see a lot of these media classifying a lot of people that just have pride in their country and mixing them with neo-Nazis. I've just become like, I saw it a lot in like 2016. Like
they have watered down.
I have a very kind of a little bit of a skepticism whenever I hear stuff like that in countries like that, because it's I've heard it so much, like, oh, there's media reporting like, oh, there's neo-Nazis in this Polish parade and like Liberty Day. It's just like they're just people that, it was like, these are all just people with their flag out. I don't understand what you're trying to say. Like, there's a lot of just a lot of people like a lot of like, I just remember the time of confusing nationalism for Nazism, and that's, so it kind of makes me automatically have a hard skepticism when I hear, oh, neo-Nazi groups here, and they're really, or that there's like a huge majority of them, because there probably are some, but there's probably like
are
5. But like the thing is with Ukraine, like there is some history behind that originally the Ukrainians welcomed the Nazis with baskets of bread, because they thought, oh, they're going to save us from the Soviets, who just about a decade ago starved 30 million of us. So they originally thought, okay, they're going to save us. But no, the Nazis ended up enslaving them, actually, sending them to do dirty work on a bunch of other certain projects, ended up killing a lot of them. And so that they're just like, well, they're also crappy people as well. We're stuck. And so Ukraine, Belarus, and the Baltics are what we as historians normally refer to as the Bloodlands, where they were stuck between the Soviets and the Nazis, and they suffered both horribly, and both of which a lot of people also bring up as a dilemma, where people who fought for the Nazis are mostly doing it so that they won't have to go back to the Soviets. Meanwhile. And so there's a lot of controversy on what these war heroes of World War II are and what they did. I'm sorry. I am running on like 4 hours of sleep. I'm sorry if I'm talking in circles.
That's okay. The Democrats in 2016 did call everybody who they disagree with that was conservative and on the right neo-Nazis.
Same with a lot of
They
Western
called
Europe,
them white supremacists. And I do believe they did this by design in order for when you encounter real neo-Nazis, which Ukraine has several groups of it, and some of them have been holding political positions. I spend my entire stream showing the receipts on this actually before here. I actually showed how these people, and it's not pretending to be neo-Nazis. Come to find out that the neo-Nazis here come to Ukraine to actually travel. These people have Nazi symbols. They do the Hitler salute, and they actually say, yes, we are. They're not even hiding it in Ukraine.
What was the name of this group?
Let me give you several of them. The main one is Azov Battalion. It's AZO.
Yes.
Yeah, Azov Battalion is one of them. The other one is okay, I'm gonna spell it. SOV. SVO.
Oh, Svobodnya.
Yeah, Svobodnya. C14 is the other one. Patriot of Ukraine. The National Corps. And this is just the ones I was able to copy in a short time I had. And Social National Assembly. So these are legitimate neo-Nazis, and as a matter of fact, here's an article. I'll send you this article where the Azov Battalion held foreigners hostage during the evacuation to convince them to fight on their behalf. So these people, and then when I played a video from America where they were like, Putin says the denazification. How can there be neo-Nazis in the Ukraine when Zelensky is a Jew? Zelensky is Jewish. There can be no neo-Nazis. And it's like, these people are on Twitter. They're all, even PBS did a video. And by the way, everything I'm telling you, I did it on the video today. I did it on my live stream where I'm showing receipts after receipts after receipts of actual neo-Nazis that are in political positions like mayor in parliament, and they're also bragging about being on the front line to fight against the Russians. So this is not like, oh, let me carry a swastika flag. They don't have to carry a swastika flag. They have different other symbols that they took from Hitler. Whereas the Z is upside down, they have an I in it, so it's international nationalist or something like that, and they have the black sun as their symbol. So all of these are Nazi symbols that they proudly fly. And they have parades. So when you said that the Ukrainians have offered neo-Nazis or Nazis bread and hope that they can protect them from the Russia, that makes sense to why they have allowed the Nazis to get out of control.
I mean, a lot of like people are kind of, they'll still see like the Nazis as like, okay, yeah, they killed a bunch of people, but a lot of people will also look at it and be like, they killed a bunch of people, but they weren't as bad as the Soviets. Like if you go to Lithuania, they'll have you kind of always
the Nazis are not as bad as the Soviets. Wow, how is that possible?
Well, okay, so have you ever heard of the Holodomor?
No.
Okay, that's probably why.
Spell that for me.
HOLODOMOR.
I'm sorry, do it again, woman.
HOLODOMOR.
Okay, what is that?
That is it was in the 1930s. Joseph Stalin withheld food rations from Ukraine, and millions and millions of Ukrainians starved to death. And so there's a lot of people that are claiming that he he did this intentionally, and he was trying to genocide
So
Ukrainians.
is there a group of them now?
Group of
Holo-
oh, the
holo-
Holodomor was an event that happened. It's
Okay, so I don't see the equivalence to actual neo-Nazis right now and how they're bad like Russians right now.
I was saying that this is the reason why Ukraine sees the Soviets as a lot worse than the Nazis, because the Soviets starved like 10 to 30. I think the numbers range a lot because there's a lot of because the Soviets like to hide their how many bodies that they actually had, and they're kind of like the Turks when it comes to the Armenian genocide. They don't like to reveal the true numbers, and they try to get rid of any kind of documentation that would support the actual numbers. So yeah, that's a lot of like deportations during the Stalin era, especially of like a lot of Ukrainian minorities like Crimean Tatars, a lot of very strict there's been even like before the Soviet Union, like during the Russian Empire, there had been numerous like attacks against Ukrainian people. They're trying to erase their culture, their language, their all kinds of their identity for many, many years. And it's just been history. That's like the prime motivation why Ukraine is fighting back, because they've seen this shit before. Russia's done this to them before numerous times, and so that's why
Russia starved Ukraine. I'm talking about under Putin. Russia has starved Ukraine.
I'm talking about just
but hold on. I see what you're saying. And I can repeat it back to you. You're saying during the Holodomor, I'm sorry, I'm bad at my enunciation, that due to the atrocity that Stalin and other communist Russian or Soviet or CCCP leaders have done, they're thinking like, okay, well, let's not forget yesteryear. That's the same as blacks saying, hey, you know what? We should never trust white people. We should always go against white people because of all the things they did to us in Jim Crow and segregation and slavery. That is
not saying that it's correct.
It's not being done to Ukrainians right now. So when someone says that the neo-Nazis are not as bad as the Russians, I'm like, how?
Because the neo-Nazis aren't firing explosions on residential areas.
Here's the deal. When you're in war, you're in war. However, I'm seeing that a lot of Ukrainians are messing up Ukraine people too, and I'm gonna get back to my story. But when that tank ran over that old man, people said that was a Russian tank. No, that was a Ukrainian tank, and that was a idiot that somebody gave a tank to because he didn't know how to drive it, because, you know, they're giving people weapons and they're giving them all of these military vehicles without the proper training. So therefore, I'm seeing a lot of Ukrainian people mess each other up. And let's not forget, it was the coup by the neo-Nazis in 2014 where they were killing other Ukrainians. So this whole thing about Russia bad, I'm seeing a whole lot of Ukrainians bad. But to get back to my point, it's that to sit up here and say that we got to hold the sins of what Russia has done in the past instead of looking at what they're not doing to us today versus what the neo-Nazis are. This is a very fascinating argument of saying the neo-Nazis are not as bad and therefore they are accepted because they're not Russians, even though the Russians have not done anything to neo-Nazis. We have seen neo-Nazis brag about, and we have actually seen footage, I've showed it on my stream, of them actually tearing up Romanian camps, where we have articles of them roughing up Polish people and Romanian gypsies and also some Jews. So I've seen the neo-Nazis do a lot of bad things to Ukrainian people versus what they think that the Russians have done.
Okay. Now that you explained it to me a bit thoroughly, I think I might know what might actually be going on, because this is actually something that is quite common. Not quite common, but like it's happened before, like given other political contexts. See, a lot of one thing is that a lot of things like this, the breakup of the Soviet Union kind of messed up a lot of territories, like. And also, when it comes to Putin, Ukrainians also have another big reason not to like Putin, because, of course, Crimea, that was, that's pretty, but there's also a lot of times where there's a lot of allegations of like certain groups are being funded by outside actors, like
George Soros funding Zelensky. Because let me tell you something, George Soros loved himself some Ukraine, and you know who else loved Ukraine? Hunter Biden and the Biden people. I mean, like it's, to me, Ukraine seems to be, no disrespect to anybody from Ukraine, but Ukraine seems to be the whore right now between Russia and the EU, because they're up for the biggest high bidder. Anybody, you got the money, they got the time.
Well, they're being invaded right now, so they're desperate for any kind of help.
Well, before they was invaded, they seemed to be the whore for anybody. George Soros' money, Biden's money, Hillary Clinton's money. Okay, it's like they have a lot of interference from from the political people in our country, in their country.
I mean, it's not the only country that foreign political actors interfere with. I mean, Ukraine is also there's also a lot of investment opportunities, a lot of oil. Maybe not. No, wait, not oil.
Yeah, I'm about to say not really.
No, that's
I would have
wrong
to say
country.
the agriculture.
That's Azerbaijan. My bad.
Yeah, I did talk about that. The Russia is about to take over Odessa,
I have another.
And Odessa has a lot of wheat.
Oh yeah, if Russia takes Odessa, it's all over. But
yeah, they're going to do it.
Yeah, they are. I feel like they're getting close, but I'm honestly very surprised at how slow things have been. I'm mostly surprised that Putin waited so long.
Because Putin doesn't want to hurt I know you don't believe this, but Putin doesn't want to hurt the civilians. Putin just want to get rid of the political power that the corrupt political.
That's not his right, though.
Well, actually, it's not about right when it comes to war, because I do think like a warrior for a woman.
The country has a right to decide what it wants to do with itself. If it wants to join NATO, it can join NATO.
Yeah. No, you can't. Listen, America will never let Cuba have Russian missiles. So why should Russia allow Ukraine to join NATO and have nuclear weapons right at his front doorstep? That's just crazy. We
have nuclear weapons at our front doorstep. They have nuclear weapons in Kaliningrad, and Poland and Lithuania are right there.
I'm only talking about Russia. I'm only talking about Russia. I'm sitting here because I didn't want to have to do all this research on what pissed Putin off. And when I actually looked at it, I'm like, oh yeah, he has every right to be pissed off, because he's been very patient, and my country has lied, poked the bear, and basically been playing games with them. So has NATO. And I'm sorry, we, America, we need to get our ass kicked, because we have actually just enjoyed being the superpower for so long that instead of us being allies with Putin, we sit up here and we have to have them as an enemy. And now everybody want like, oh, come on, Putin, we were just playing. You know what I'm saying? Stop. Just cause you just like ease up on the invasions. But hold on. But to get back what I was saying, Putin does not want to doesn't want to take the name Ukraine. He doesn't want to remove the flag. He just wants to get rid of the puppet politicians that are now ruining Ukraine. I'm sorry, but the politicians the Zelensky is a piece of shit, and whoever's his boss, who I can't even pronounce the guy's name, who they said is actually telling Zelensky how to do. He is not in the best interest of Ukraine. He's just not.
Okay, let me explain to you something a bit more about foreign policy. It's mostly following realism, where we follow the assumptions that nations act in their best interest. Basically, Russia wants Ukraine because it will benefit its own country. It will benefit itself. And Ukraine has a lot of stuff that they inherited from the Soviet Union, a lot of technology, some good military bases that have now been updated and modernized. And so Russia could use all that military technology to do endeavors elsewhere. There's some good natural resources, a lot of nice farmland. There's a lot of stuff in Ukraine that if Ukraine was to be a friend of Russia, Russia could get stuff for cheaper. Russia could get a lot of really good things out of it. And you have to think of it as a way of like, what does it want? It wants Ukraine to not join the West so that it can have economic benefits. But
not economic
that
benefits.
does not give it the right.
No, not economic. No, nuclear weapons.
Charge in there. I mean, I'm not saying that it was okay for like the United States to like charge in to other places and do that stuff and do stuff like that as well. Like Libya, I don't think that was. I don't exactly condone that, but like that was.
My country has done a lot of up things, and that's what I'm actually realistic about. A lot of up things that my country has done to other countries. I'm like, yep, we did that. So therefore, when I look at what Russia is like, look, what you're not going to do is put some nukes in a fucking country at my doorstep. That Ukraine was supposed to be a buffer zone between them and NATO.
No. Well, Russia kind of already violated that because, okay, so there's this exclave that putting nukes very close to NATO territory because there's an exclave like called Kaliningrad Oblast. It's a little piece of Russia like surrounded by the rest of Europe that it inherited from Germany after World War II, and they have nuclear weapons there, and it's just sandwiched in between NATO countries, and they're the ones that decided to put it there.
Is it their country?
It is their country.
So they can do what they want. No.
Yeah, exactly.
They can do what they want with their country. What you're not understanding. No. You're not understanding me. Can hold on. I need you to see. I need you to answer this. Can Russia put nukes in Mexico?
No.
Why not?
Well, if Mexico allows them permission to.
And if Mexico allowed Russia to put nukes in Mexico, if Mexico allowed Russia to put nukes there, what do you think my country would do?
They would probably scramble and try to find a way to resolve things.
They would do everything.
It depends on who's in power.
My country would never allow that because that also happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when actually Russia tried to put nukes in Cuba. See, here's the thing. I don't like hypocrisy with my country.
War anymore.
It doesn't matter. They try to do it. So my thing is, I don't like hypocrisy with my country. My country is like, you can't put no nuke. Russia, you better not put no nukes in Cuba. You better not put no nukes in Canada. You better not put no nukes in Mexico. But we can put some nukes in Ukraine. So no, Russia would have never messed with the Ukraine had they not start talking about joining NATO. Because
they talked about joining NATO for years.
Yeah,
but they just decided to do it now for shits and giggles.
No, it wasn't shits and giggles.
I'm just saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Zelensky. It looked like it was about to happen, and Putin had already gave an address. Like, look, like y'all supposed to be a buffer state. You're supposed to be a neutral zone here. We don't want any nukes on our front door. So, and that's what I'm saying, the hypocrisy. Just like we as Americans will never allow Russia to put nukes in Cuba, Mexico, or Canada, why should Russia allow NATO to take over, to allow Ukraine to be a part of their military regime or whatever, and then have nukes right there facing Russia? Absolutely not. I don't blame Putin for saying, nah, y'all fucking with the wrong one.
Well, then what Putin could have done is he could have taken like Donetsk and Luhansk, like the parts of eastern Ukraine he already had, and he already did turn them into like he could have turned those into buffer states, like he kind of already did. But why do you have to go into the rest of Ukraine?
Because Ukraine is a big
buffer states there.
No, you got to think like a soldier, okay? You got to think like a military expert. Ukraine is a huge entire state. Like you can, if that is a big bridge, you know, separating the NATO states from Russia, and so therefore, yeah. Russia would have never messed with Ukraine had they not actually had serious talks about, you know what? Yeah, maybe we should go ahead and violate their agreement and go ahead and join NATO. So it's like Russia has every right to defend itself. And once again, I must put emphasis on it. Russia is not trying to turn Ukraine into Russia 2.0.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's
Because
not
hold on, I'm going to show you how it's
not.
not. Hold on, I'm going to prove it because I'm right about this.
If you look at Armenia, you look at everywhere in Central Asia, all the stands in Central
Ukraine
Asia.
will have Ukraine still will have their
People
language.
should have the right to vote for what persons runs their country.
I will not have, and I have to think like Putin. I'm not going to have my enemy's puppet in charge when I can have my puppet in charge.
Yeah, that's more realism. And so you agree that Putin's like being aggressive.
It doesn't matter because I'm going to look out. One thing I love about Putin, he's looking out for Russia and he's looking out for Russians. Something that we don't have right now. President Poopy Pants, who we have in the White House, doesn't have in office right now. We don't have anybody putting America first. Here's why we got to open borders. However, right now, if I'm going to hold on. If I'm going to look out for my country, if Putin's looking out for his country, which he is, he's not going to have his enemy's puppet in Ukraine that is basically going to put his country and their well-being in jeopardy versus him having his puppet in there that's going to look out for the betterment of Russia to make sure that NATO don't cross that line. Absolutely, he's looking out for the best interests of Russia.
I mean, if he was looking out for the best interests of Russia, like the currency wouldn't be in absolute free fall by now.
The only reason the currency is in free fall is and by the way, it will bounce back big time. But let's be honest. Let's be in good faith here. The only reason that they're going through any type of hardship right now is because of the sanctions.
Exactly. You should have expected.
Hold on. But what started all of this? You're gonna forget what started all of this? Tell me what started all of this.
Depends on where you want to begin. It could go back to centuries of history.
What pissed Putin off?
Well, a lot of things could piss Putin off. One of the things that pisses Putin off is countries, post-Soviet Union countries that are better than Russia.
What pissed Putin off about Ukraine?
They didn't like it. It was aligning with the West, which has every right.
Okay, so therefore,
Russia can also
no. Hold on. Let me respond to this. Let me respond to this. Russia does not want to be part of the West, and therefore Ukraine was not part of the West, and therefore being part of the West is being a part of NATO, which means nukes. And you just admitted that you thought that, my country would not like having nukes at their front door. So why is it?
There's ways around that.
No. You just admitted there's no ways around that. Ukraine would have had nukes.
The Baltics are also at Russia's front door, and they're also in
We're
NATO,
talking about Ukraine.
Fine.
We're talking about Ukraine. I don't want to deflect to something else. We're talking about Ukraine. Putin did not want nukes in Ukraine. So therefore, he was like, look, he gave Zelensky an opportunity. Zelensky is high on his horse, like, fuck that. And then Zelensky is making orders, and just like when he asked NATO, because this motherfucker really think he's actually got some power, saying he wants NATO to issue a no-fly zone over Ukraine. This piece of shit is trying to start an actual World War III because if
Russia's killing people.
Are you serious? If Putin was to fly his plane over Ukraine and then NATO would have bombed it, then that would have started a nuclear war. I don't understand. Like, people are not, nobody's understanding. Like, you guys are, it's amazing how people let the United States be bullies. We killed millions of people. We fuck with everybody. We put our bases in people's places. But Russia can't sit up here and have Ukraine be a nuclear free state. Come on now. You and I are Americans, but yet still, I'm not letting America get away with all the bullshit that they did. So they can't sit up here and be bullies and then say, "Oh, Russia, you have no right to sit up here and be concerned about with your front doorstep."
Yeah, it's kind of like saying, Germany can't tell anybody what to do because the Nazis happened.
And guess what?
Didn't you just say that we need?
Do Germany have nukes?
They have a lot of.
Yes or no?
Oh no! France has nukes.
Yeah, Germany don't have nukes, right? Why don't we trust Germany with nukes?
Oh yeah, there we go.
So there you go. So I mean, and by the way, that was a deflection, but
I'm sorry, I have 20 different points that I still have yet to
I mean, that was a deflection, but I'll take your deflection and still destroy that example. Like, we don't trust Germany any damn way. So you're right.
And so, that's like also saying that, France and England have colonized and ravaged and pillaged the world. Why are we trusting them with nukes as well?
No, but France is a bitch. Hold on, but France became so many people's bitches.
France is.
But nobody's afraid of France. Nobody's afraid of France.
Not like physically, but like economically.
No, but we're not afraid of France.
So many people's countries.
No, nobody's afraid of France.
A lot of countries in Africa are afraid of France.
Who cares about Africa? Come on now. Nobody in no westernized country is afraid of France. I don't care about some third world country, and I don't care about, and if you know anything about me, mentioning Africa is just not, it's going to be a losing story with you, right? You're never going to win when it comes bringing up Africa to me. So it's like, with no westernized country is afraid of France. That's why we clown them, saying that France has never met a white flag they didn't like. Nobody's scared of them, but we don't trust Germany. And also, getting back to the Ukraine, because I don't want to get off on this tangent on other countries. Getting back to the Ukraine, I definitely would never trust a country like Ukraine who has a neo-Nazi problem. So why would we even allow them to even get more powerful than they already have? See, and I agree, we need to get rid of the neo-Nazi problem because they do have a huge neo-Nazi problem. Anytime these people can hold political power, that's a problem.
Okay, I'm going to try to address one point at a time because there's a lot of stuff that just thrown at me at once. Oh, 1 second. Okay, so one thing that another thing, like going back to the whole neo-Nazi thing, like there's a lot of like right-wing political parties throughout Europe that a lot of people say, they're.
I want to concentrate on Ukraine. That's the reason why. That's the reason why I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I need you to stop doing this. I only want to talk about.
I detract a lot.
I only want to talk about Ukraine. I only want to talk about Ukraine's Nazi problem. But don't use everybody else's. Because I don't care. That's whataboutism, and it's like when black people go, well, what about the white people? What about the
comparing because this is a phenomenon a lot of countries. But I'm looking at Svoboda. It seems to be like Germany's AfD, where basically a lot of people accuse them of being neo-Nazis, but like they're mostly just far right and just kind of idiots.
Are you denying
I'm not
neo-Nazis?
I'm talking about the political party Svoboda, which has one member in the Verkhnova Rada, and seems to have a very minuscule membership. But this is just the political party aspect that I'm looking at when a lot of people say that there's neo-Nazis in the political parties. Like a lot of these countries, almost the entirety of Europe is like banned, like both Nazi and communist parties. But this.
Okay, hold on.
I'm looking at just Svoboda.
Okay, here we go. Hold on. I'm gonna give you some names. Okay, the Svoboda party. I can never pronounce it.
Svoboda is mostly.
Hold on, I'm gonna give you two names.
Invade.
Oleh. The second name is Tahnybok, and then the second name is Andriy. Second name is Parubiy. They served as the last one served as a chairman of the Ukraine's parliament from 2016 to 2019. So that is from that party, and it is a neo-Nazi party. And I don't want you to be sounding like an apologist here saying, well, no, they're not really they are neo-Nazis. They are far right. And when I say far right, I mean far right neo-Nazis. They believe they actually celebrate Hitler. They celebrate a lot of the soldiers from there. So
Can I ask where you're getting this information from?
Here you go, right here.
Because I'd like to know about that.
Here, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you this link right here. I also here, I email it to you. I also did, like I said, on my stream, I issued, which I don't expect you to go back there and look at all the things I posted there, but I also posted articles that talks about them being a neo-Nazi party. I also talked about how they came over here to America and they was confronted. And if you look at that video, which you can't look at right now, they are confronted by an American reporter who actually confronts a Republican or maybe a Democrat, I'm not sure, because Biden likes them too, about inviting these two neo-Nazis of that party over here to speak. So you're downplaying this as about them being neo-Nazis. It's kind of like a problem because it makes me realize that the reason why these people are out of control is because they're like, well, they're not as bad as Russia.
Well, given that the fact that Russia is currently the one like blasting everyone and like killing.
Why?
That's kind of.
We can do this rodeo all day long.
Can I finish my sentence? That's kind of why it's kind of easy to.
No, you're being disingenuous. You're being disingenuous.
Can I finish my sentence?
We understand. We understand that the reason why I'm not going to say this over and over again. The reason why Russia is invading Ukraine is because they're trying to get into NATO about fucking bringing nukes. You keep talking about, well, the reason why they don't like Russia is because Russia invading. Russia didn't invade them last month. Russia didn't invade them last year. Russia didn't invade them 2 years ago. Russia. You keep bringing up what Russia's doing now as the reason why they have always been hated for fucking years. That's being disingenuous, and that's making me angry. So I don't want to hear about, well, Russia is invading them right now. Yeah, after Putin has given them time after time of saying, hey, don't join NATO.
That wasn't my point.
So I don't care what you mentioned. Well, Russia is invading them right now.
That right now Russia just doesn't have the best PR, so it's easy for people to make that excuse. And yeah, I'm saying it's definitely not okay for people like that to praise groups like that. From what I see this group is, if they're attacking everyday Ukrainians, and it seems more of like, well, they're being associated with with everyday Ukrainians, but they don't seem to have the ideals for everyday Ukrainians in check. So that makes them kind of an interesting party in this regard, because they seem to simultaneously be helping Russia at the same time by hurting innocent Ukrainians. I'm sorry. I'm trying to place this faction right now where into the conflict, and it's something that is very could make quite a difference in this war. But I don't think that Russia is really going to do anything about it if they end up taking over, because Russia doesn't really take care of a lot of extremist groups. We see this.
Well, you don't know that, do you?
Because I've seen it. a lot of times they always end up like promoting a lot of extremist groups, like
Okay.
in Abkhazia, like when
Show
they
me,
invaded
hold on.
Georgia.
Show me a country that had neo-Nazis, and I'm talking about under Putin. I'm not talking about Stalin and Lenin and all that other stuff.
I'm not talking about neo-Nazis, but I'm talking about
Okay,
there's
I'm
other
only talking
countries that
about
had-
neo-Nazis. I'm only talking about neo-Nazis, and I'm only talking about neo-Nazis in Ukraine. I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you this link right here in reference to how Putin had warned NATO. By the way, Ukraine is not even it's not a NATO country yet, and still they keep interfering into. When I say they, NATO keeps interfering into situations just like Libya that don't concern them. So here we have Russia. Here we have, I sent you the article. Putin warned West. Moscow has a red line about Ukraine, NATO. Russian President Vladimir Putin has sternly warned NATO against deploying its troops and weapons to Ukraine, saying it represents a red line for Russia and would trigger a strong response. And that's what you keep ignoring this, is that he is reacting. This is what you're doing. You know, somebody slaps Putin, and then Putin takes a bat and hit him upside the head. And then you're talking about, well, Putin put him in the hospital for, you know, and I'm like, yeah, he slapped him.
But Putin also did invade Crimea. But did you?
I'm only talking about Ukraine. And here's the deal.
Crimea is Ukraine.
Crimea, well, true, you're right. I'm sorry, my bad. Yeah.
So
Crimea, but hold on. From my understanding, Crimea wanted to be part of Russia because they spoke the language, they had the same culture and everything like that. So Crimea had no problem being part of Russia.
To the United Kingdom, does that mean everyone we should become part of the United Kingdom?
Come on, you're moving the goalposts. Crimea wanted to be part of Russia, so it's not an invasion, okay? But
the election was very much full of soldiers and very much full of intimidation.
So, it's not the so on the intimidation, but the so on they had soldiers. Big deal. So what? My thing is, I
understand like the region, like because again, this also, the region itself also goes back to like Stalinist times, where like, oh, Stalin gave this to Ukraine as a gift, and so what a lot of people see, like when Vladimir Putin invaded Crimea, they see, oh, this is Russian nationalism trying to take back stuff under the context of the Soviet Union. And that left a bad taste in everybody's mouths.
No.
So that's what a lot of these this mindset's coming from.
Putin just wants the West to leave him alone, to not further. And
how can we ever be friends with Russia if they just
hold on. Let me finish. He doesn't want NATO to continue expanding towards the east because NATO is not an ally.
We wouldn't have to have NATO. Things like Georgia didn't happen, or things like Czechia.
I only want to talk about Ukraine. Okay, I only want to talk about Ukraine.
About the reasons
I only want to talk about Ukraine because here's the deal. NATO is a globalist. NATO is basically just used to be a bully and a globalist military, okay, on behalf of George Soros and all of the political bigwigs in America. So I'm not going to sit up here and like once again, we are overlooking at how we are the fucking bullies. We keep poking the Russian bear, and then when he bites back, now we want to claim victim. So we're cry bullies.
You're saying that we started this, even though Russia invaded Georgia. And
I'm only talking about Ukraine. I'm only talking about Ukraine.
No, you're talking about all of NATO, saying that we.
No, I'm not. No. When I say NATO,
okay, never mind. I see your point here, but I'm saying that the reason why the countries want to join NATO is because they do not want to end up like Georgia. They do not want to end up like Abkhazia.
Ukraine made a deal and said no. Ukraine ain't no damn scared. They got neo-Nazis, for Christ's sake. Okay, they ain't acting no damn scared.
They are scared of Russia, yes.
Oh, so was the coup of 2014 Russia's fault?
Coup of 2014 in Ukraine?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't think so. No.
No, of course it's not. So my thing is, once again, I'm just destroying
My
your.
brain is
It's
foggy
Russia.
right
It's
now.
Russia fault. It's Russia fault. It's Russia fault. It's not Russia's fault. Ukraine was left alone until they started to deal with NATO. And that's where you will not concede, because you still want to blame it to everything else about Georgia, about, well, Russia is just a building. No, nobody, Ukraine has not been with until they started to deal with NATO.
Did they do? And when would you think that they started dealing with NATO?
Who?
Because
Ukraine?
yeah, because
Ever
there
since
was still
Zelensky, ever
Crimea.
since Zelensky has been in office, that's when.
Well, well, the whole Crimea incident happened before all this NATO stuff. So you're right. So
That's irrelevant. That is so irrelevant.
no, it is very relevant.
It's not irrelevant.
This is the
You
reason
asked me,
that-
hold on. You asked me when do you think all this NATO stuff started with Ukraine? And I said, ever since Zelensky was in power. I answered
saying
your
that
question,
it's
and you
Russia-
still want to move the goalposts behind Zelensky.
No, I'm sorry. I may not be making myself very clear, but I'm trying to say that I don't think that this specific NATO incident is the reason for all this aggression, because Putin has acted this way in the past.
No, hold on. It is because Putin said it is. Putin had made speeches about it. Putin gave warnings. This article, hold on.
lie.
This article I gave you have him saying, "Hey,
Politicians
don't
lie
cross
all the
that red
fucking
line."
time. Politicians lie all the fucking time.
Oh, hold, girlfriend.
Oh my gosh.
If you hold on. Be careful. I will use that against you. If you want to sit up here and say politicians, if you want to say Putin is lying about why he has warned, because he warned them back in February. So if you want to play that, well, politicians lie all the time, trust me, I can use that back on you. So I suggest you be careful with the whole politicians lie, because I can make everything from every politician that you support a liar.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to. I may have not. Okay, so I'm talking about if Putin never says anything along the lines of, "Oh, I just want the best for Ukraine." That's a
He didn't
fucking
say
lie.
he wanted the best for
or
Ukraine.
or something along the lines of, this is because I feel like dude,
He didn't
fucking
say that.
Russia.
He didn't say. He didn't say that.
I'm sorry, my
I'll
brain
read
is in a
again.
bit- I'm running on
Russian
3 hours
President
this way.
Vladimir Putin on Tuesday sternly warned NATO against deploying its troops and weapons into Ukraine, saying it represents a red line for Russia and would trigger a strong response. If Ukraine is not part of NATO, why would NATO deploy troops and weapons to Ukraine?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is not the point I was arguing about. My bad. I thought we were talking about something else.
I'm talking about the reason why Russia decided to go ahead and invade. And once again, I got to keep saying this for context.
Because Putin wants to leave his legacy. It's been like that for a long time.
So what? I mean, if that's the case, so what? I don't care.
Putin has.
Why are you hating on Putin? I would love to leave my legacy. Unfortunately, I can't do that because I don't have no kids.
It's on the backs of so
many what? People. Who cares if he wants to leave his legacy? As far as I'm concerned, he got more balls than all the leaders in the EU put together. The man is nothing to be fucked with. And to go against a superpower like the United States plus NATO, and now we're going to be regretting fucking with him. Hey, that man deserves to have a legacy. I don't have no problem. Okay. I'm not hating on him having no legacy. So what?
So I understand where you're coming from, because coming from the United States, that does have a history of meddling with other countries. That this would be an understandable point of view. I absolutely 100% totally get that. And so looking at that point of view, I get it. But you also I'm sorry. My tongue is very dry right now. I'm so sorry.
We would never allow anyone to do to us what NATO is doing to Ukraine to do to Russia. That is my problem.
I want you to try to put yourself in the shoes of Ukraine.
I can't do that because I don't deal with neo-Nazis, and I'm not friendly with people who tolerate them because they're not Russia. I cannot sympathize. That's like saying I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the Ku Klux Klan. I need you to put yourself in the shoes of the Aryan nations. No, what I'm saying is that they are friendly and allowed the Nazis to be there without getting them out. You know what I'm saying? And also allowing Zelensky to use them as patrol units. Like it's like the Ukrainian people are like, it's okay. The Nazis are. I don't see no outrage from the Ukrainian people about the neo-Nazis in their country. I don't see it. And you admitted that they don't have an outrage with them because they consider them better than the Russians.
I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about the
No,
US.
You keep talking about everything, but I keep bringing you back to the Ukraine. And you did say, hold on, because you can.
It kind of sounds like the U.S.
You said you did say for a fact that the Ukrainians gave them bread. Did you not say that?
That was in like 19. Okay, I thought you said, "Oh, we're not going to talk about history. We're talking about."
You brought it up.
And, then you also brought up this factor.
I'm bringing up the fact that you said, hold on, because I'm really good at listening. You said, so you think that all the Ukrainian people support the neo-Nazis? Did you not say that?
I was asking for a point of clarity.
It doesn't matter. Did you not say that, right?
I'm trying to figure out what point of view you're coming
from. No, it's not a hard question. Did you not ask me that?
Along those lines, yes.
Okay. So when you asked me that, I said that I cannot feel sorry for a group of people who sympathize with neo-Nazis.
And you think all Ukrainians sympathize with neo-Nazis?
Well, I don't see them trying to get them out now, do I?
Looking at this group, I kind of see it looks like a similar group as if we're looking at the groups that the United States has funded overseas that ended up being like the radical Islamic terrorist groups that came to bite us in the ass. And I agree, they definitely should not be funded, especially if they're going on and attacking what would be our allies. That's not something that a group that we should be funding should do. However, I'm not exactly 100% sure about these groups origins, or like how much exact support they are receiving within Ukraine, because if they're taking out Ukrainian forces, and that's very, very counterintuitive. So it sounds more similar to a group that would be more aligned with Russia, or something that
the neo-Nazis are not aligned with Russia. They hate Russia.
Yeah, well,
they hate Russia, so don't even do that, okay? Here's the deal. They hate Russia, they hate Poles, they hate Romanians, and they hate Jews.
George Soros funds protesters all the time. Why can't Putin?
Are you comparing George Soros to Putin?
They both have lots of money. They both have
so Jeff Bezos, hold on, so Jeff Bezos is like George Soros and Putin?
He very much could be.
Either he is or he isn't. And if you're trying to say that just because people have a lot of money that they're fucked up like George Soros makes you disingenuous.
I'm saying that it's a very much a possibility, given that how
the hell is George Soros and Putin the same?
Given that
besides them having lots of money.
I'm sorry, can I please finish? Given that this group is going against like what the majority of Ukrainians stand
I'm not going to let you get away with this. How the hell is George Soros and Putin the same? Besides them both being billionaires.
I did not say that he was the same.
You're saying, well, he got a lot of money. Did you not say that? I said, are you comparing George Soros the same as Putin? And then you go, well, they both got a lot of money. And I'm like, what? That's what you said.
Let me finish my sentence.
But did you not say that?
I say they both have political interest and the
No,
money
you said they both have a lot of money. Did you not say that?
I said that, and I said they had political interest to where they and they vote. I said
So
they have
we
political interests.
can basically end that argument by just this one question:
They're
Is George Soros and Putin the same? Yes or no?
That's such a loaded question.
It's not
You are
loaded.
legit trying to. You are trying.
It's not
No,
It's
I'm not
not
gonna let you
loaded.
do this. No,
It's not loaded. If you're being disingenuous, it's not
you've been
loaded.
talking over me. Oh, okay.
That's not a hard question.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just so tired. Okay. I'm sorry. My brain is in like several places at once. I'm just like, oh my god, there's so many different points everywhere.
That
My ADHD is
that
bouncing
question
everywhere.
is not
I'm sorry. Could
loaded.
you please repeat the question?
The
To me? I'm
question
sorry.
is George Soros and Putin the same? Yes or no?
What do you mean by the same?
Okay. Do they
Because
have the same political interests?
not the exact same political
Okay, so
interests.
that's a no, right?
No,
Okay, so they're not the same.
they
All
have
right, so that's all I care about is because we're talking about politics. George Soros have a different
however,
George no, there's no however. George Soros has a different political agenda than
no,
Putin.
but I do want to. There was another point that I did want to bring up. I wanted to talk to you about because because I've been at a lot of universities for a long time. I've come in contact with a lot of different socialist groups, and normally there's a okay. No, I have to have a better way to explain this. Okay, so first I'm going to start with George Soros. I'm sorry, my thoughts are all over the place. I deeply apologize for that.
That's okay.
My ADHD is out of control today. I am so sorry. But one thing that kind of concerned me about George Soros supposedly funding Ukraine is that it's kind of counterintuitive to his ultimate goal because, I mean, George Soros is a man who survived World War II. He survived the Nazis. So why would he? First of all, why would he fund?
He helped the Nazis.
He's a Jew. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. Are you talking about like during
Do
1944
you
when he was
know
like a
who
kid?
the hell George Soros is?
I'm sorry. Are you talking about 1940? Okay, you're not talking about 1944. I'm sorry. For a second, I'm like, wait. Wasn't he like a kid during World War II? How has that happened? But like my
And
brain
you
is
know
like,
what he said? He said he had no problems taking Jewish people's stuff and giving it to the Nazi army. And they snitched. That him and his uncle snitched to the SS Waffen army about Jews hiding in certain areas. And then when they got picked up and taken to the concentration camps, him and his uncle would raid their home. They'll take a little bit of their stuff on their own. This is coming out of George Soros' mouth, by the way. This is all this stuff is said by him. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is said by him, and basically given to the Russian. I mean, the Hitler's army. Also, he has also funded the Muslim Brotherhood. Do you think the Muslim Brotherhood is for Jews? But because Soros is anti-Israel, he hates Israel, but he's a Jew. I want people to stop thinking that just because somebody is a Jew doesn't mean that they will not support Hezbollah. They will not support Hitler regime. And Zelensky is a Jew also, and he has hired neo-Nazis as bodyguards as well as to defend him against being assassinated. So this whole thing about he's a Jew means
also
nothing.
Similar things. But people also use the same excuse when people try to accuse Trump of being anti-Semitic. So that was also another rough point. But yeah, because there's a lot of people I knew that were
but Trump's not a Jew. Soros being a Jew has nothing to do.
His daughter's a Jew, and they'll be like, "Oh, that way he can't be anti-Semitic."
But Trump's not a Jew, and you cannot compare him to Soros. Soros was born a Jew. Soros is still Jewish, but Soros goes against Jewish. You know how they say that Jews always act. The white nationalists in America always say that Jews act as a collective group. That's not true when it comes to people like George Soros.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know exactly. But
so him being a Jew means nothing. He will still go against. And Zelensky is the same.
I know, but I'm just okay. So that was just one because normally, like George, I was just saying mostly because like George. I have to be quieter because like people are sleeping. But
Okay, no problem.
I'm just saying that normally the groups he follows normally virtue signal a lot for like against Nazism and everything. That's why I found it rather strange, because the groups he funds, like normally people can easily point out a hypocrisy like that. You'd think that's why I found it surprising.
George Soros goes against people that are falsely accused of being Nazis, like conservatives and right wingers. Like, I'm a right winger, I'm not a conservative. So he would consider me a Nazi sympathizer because I'm a right winger. So it's not that he there's a hypocrisy there. There's no hypocrisy there. This man does not work in the best interest as a collective for Jewish people. Okay. So there's that. And just because he's Jewish doesn't mean that all Jews go against Hitler. You actually had some Jews that were in the Hitler army. So so being Jewish means nothing.
Okay. Oh, he was born in he's 91. Oh, okay. So he was actually somewhat of an adult thinking age during World War II. Okay. For a second, I thought he was like 10 years young.
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm running out of 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, no
so
problem. If you get a chance, just watch his interview where he actually brags about doing things against Jewish people that were in the concentration camp. This man is despicable.
Okay, so another thing that I found rather interesting, because one of like George Soros' like big overwhelming goals is like to have a United States of Europe, or like basically have like one big European superstate. That's been the goal of a lot of European elites and a lot of
they're globalists. That's the reason why I said NATO is is a globalist militia. They are, and I don't blame Putin not wanting to have anything to do with them or have them influence Ukraine. So like I said, bringing it back to Ukraine, he had every reason to stop that happening. And one last thing in reference to his invasion, everybody, I think it's pretty arrogant and I'm speaking as an American, by the way, I think it's pretty arrogant to sit up here and say we need to turn every country in this world into a westernized version of our country. Who the fuck are we? We need to leave people alone, and that's the reason why I'm on the side of Putin, because Putin just wanted to be left alone, and we did not leave him alone, and therefore he's fucking up Ukraine. In response.
Well, I mean, we told Ukraine we weren't ever going to really let Ukraine into NATO, but Ukraine.
You don't know that.
I do know that because we never let Georgia into
You never
NATO
had
for the exact same reason.
Let's not talk about Georgia. Let's not talk about that.
Because we don't want to fuck with Russian troops that are already in Ukraine.
That's not true. That's not true.
Because that would automatically mean
that's
war.
not true.
And Europe doesn't want to go to war with Russia.
That's not true.
I told you about this earlier.
Hold on. I'm only talking about Ukraine.
I'm sorry. Wait, we just switched off a completely.
No, you keep going over. Let me tell you what you keep doing, and I keep bringing you back to Ukraine. You keep going to other places, and I keep bringing you back to Ukraine.
Using that as a comparison.
Yeah, and then you get off on a tangent on that comparison. What I'm telling you is that it's not a good comparison, and I reject the comparison. So you can stop using it as a comparison. What I'm telling you is that, and also I told you I don't know much about Georgia, so let's not talk about Georgia.
Can't use it.
But don't. I mean, if I knew we was going to talk about, I don't even have to know about Georgia. All I need to know about why he went after Ukraine, and I gave you the receipts on why he went after Ukraine. I can also give you the speech for why he went after Ukraine. Well, excuse me, how he was warning Ukraine, don't do this. And Zelensky didn't listen, or whoever told Zelensky not to listen didn't listen. So the thing about it is that Zelensky was being used as a puppet to actually get Ukraine into NATO. And you don't have any evidence to prove that NATO was not going to accept the Ukraine into them, and not accept NATO. Not accept Ukraine into NATO. You have no evidence that.
Western Europe is very anti-war, and letting Ukraine to NATO would automatically mean nuclear war. And right now, that's why NATO doesn't currently have any troops in there. We're not trying to avoid nuclear war.
NATO was
very
going. What are you
simple.
talking about? NATO was going to send weapons. As a matter of fact, I think they did send weapons anyway
Those
into
are
Ukraine.
individual countries, not NATO, well, NATO as a whole, but individual countries
Okay,
decided
I'm
to do
only
that as
talking
well.
about Ukraine. I need you
An
to.
individual
I need
country
you to.
decided to
I
send
need you to
weapons
stay
to
on
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
That's what
I
I said.
need you to stay on Ukraine.
I am.
Okay, here's the deal. You have no evidence that NATO was going to reject Ukraine. You have no evidence on that. Zelensky was pushing it hard.
I gave you so much evidence, but anyways,
You did not give me no evidence. You talk about other countries. I'm sorry. When you come on your period, do you use tampons or pads?
I know what you're trying to do.
Yeah, so you see what I'm saying? So stop using other countries and saying that they're exactly like Ukraine. I hate when people compare Sweden to America or Britain to America. You cannot compare two different countries to each other because they're not the same. I'm like, we have states within our countries. Georgia and Ukraine are not the same. They're just not the same, so stop doing that. I want to talk about Ukraine.
Okay. So anyways, back
So
to...
one last thing, proving that other countries did not go into Ukraine, go into NATO has nothing to do with Ukraine.
Okay, so I was saying, like, anyways, Soros is United States of Europe, but in order to really unite, adding Ukraine to like that puzzle would kind of be counterintuitive because, I mean, looking at George Soros's track record, he hates nationalism, and nationalism is also a key, like, I wouldn't say it's the opposite, but it's a tool that can really kill globalism hard. And Ukraine is very nationalist, and so adding Ukraine to any kind of globalist agenda is an easy way to kind of mess up whatever you're doing. So
George Soros is the second most influential man in Ukraine. I also have.
That's what I'm.
Hold on. Let me
He's
finish.
being a bit of a useful idiot here.
No, he's not. He has a lot of money and power in Ukraine, and therefore, because he hates Russia,
Whatever RT says.
Huh?
All right, whatever RT tells you.
Are you saying I'm getting this from RT?
It sounds like it.
Did I say I got it from RT?
No, but it just sounds so.
Do you? Hey, don't do that, sweetie. I can do the dirty thing too because I'm actually
just. I've been listening to RT for like.
Yeah, but
I had to write an article about. So I
told you I'm using RT. So don't you ever do that shit again. Just because I am actually destroying your fucking argument, you want to sit up here and push posh it by saying you're talking about. You sound like some shit from RT.
Okay, I'm very glad you don't use RT. Thank you very much.
Well, next time, fucking ask me. Don't assume I'm using it from RT. That was very insulting. I'll cuss your ass out if you do that shit again, okay?
But
Here's the deal. I am not using anything from RT. I don't watch no fucking RT. I'm actually giving you something that is a fucking fact. Soros is the second most influential man in the Ukraine. He has a lot of money in the Ukraine. How the fuck you got to get that from? CNN would admit that, okay? MSNBC will fucking admit that shit. Okay, Soros is very powerful in Ukraine. That is not no fucking Russia propaganda. This is a fucking fact. And if you go to George Soros' Twitter, George Soros will tell you how much effort and how much programs and how many of his fucking charity events he has invested into Ukraine. So therefore, he basically, besides the prime minister, actually is more revered and has more power in Ukraine to use that against Russia. And since he don't like Putin, what is the best way to with Russia than a fucking state like Ukraine that you could use to actually go against them? So it doesn't go against Soros' plan. This is exactly Soros' plan. Soros is a globalist. And what they want to do is they want to break up Russia. They want to break up Russia, and they can start with basically getting the nukes in Ukraine to intimidate, to basically back Russia down. And guess what? That didn't work, did it?
I'm saying that nationalism kills globalism.
That has nothing to do with Soros.
I'm saying that adding Ukraine to whatever plans he's doing is going to probably going to very thickly complicate, if not kill, whatever plan he has of a united Europe.
If he can add Ukraine to NATO, isn't that adding to his agenda of a united Europe?
No, because a united Europe, like when it comes to a united Europe, they want like a unified European identity. They want like people to be waving the European Union flag instead of their own country's flags. They don't want any countries. They don't want any borders. They want just one united Europe. Like a lot of politicians and like Western Europe will advocate for this as well, because they feel like, oh, this is the only way Europe can achieve pure peace, is to not have any culture, not to have any identity, not have anything that sets us apart. And this is also kind of a bit of a dichotomy within the EU itself as well. There's always been this West versus East divide on a lot of things relating to patriotism or nationalism, or basically, or a lot of stuff in between, a lot of stuff regarding like a united European identity. And adding a very proud, patriotic country like Ukraine to that mix would very much offset the balance. Not to mention, it would also if it were to join the EU, which I doubt that it's going to ever go through, Ukraine joining the EU would be like the step towards the big step towards the united Europe that everyone seems to be advocating for. Then what that's actually going to do is going to kick Germany and France off of the power seat and bring more balance to East versus West, and which is something that a lot of Eastern Europeans have been complaining about for a long time, because the West has more population. But that's going to be going off on another conversation. But I'm saying that Ukraine, it's being a very patriotic and Eastern European country, is very antithetical to the super pro-Western, super progressive.
Poland not patriotic?
Yes. Yeah, Poland is patriotic.
Hungary's not patriotic?
Yes, they are, but they're not.
Okay.
So
that just destroyed. The only place that's not patriotic is Germany. So I just destroyed that argument.
No. That wasn't my argument, though. I'm sorry for getting that. I'm sorry.
Hold that thought.
Hold on,
because you're filibustering. Hold on. No. For a second. No. You just said that the reason why. Hold on. Let me repeat it. Let me repeat back what you said. Okay, because you talked a lot and said a bunch of nothing. You said that will go against George Soros' United European agenda, because he wants these countries to fly the EU flag, not their individual flag. He doesn't want them. See, the Ukrainians are very patriotic. They basically are proud of their nation. They're nationalistic, right?
So is Poland, so is Hungary. So
exactly. So therefore, that just that little gis gallop that you just said just went out the window, because guess what?
I just said, like I said, Western Europe has a larger population, therefore has a larger influence in the EU. So that's why you always see Germany, France, Belgium, all the major institutions of the EU are in the West. Everything, like West Germany practically runs the EU. And there's a lot of Eastern European issues that always get overlooked. Like, for example, Romania, there's a lot of places that don't have indoor plumbing, but the West ignores that in favor of stupid progressive shit. And so, and one of the other major issues is patriotism as well. And so there's been this huge East and West.
George Soros has not stopped patriotism in any country in Europe. But Germany has a lot of guilt. So they're the only ones that are not patriotic about their flag. Everybody else flies their flag right beside their EU flag. But when you go to football, when you go to the football events, also known as soccer, they're flying their own flag. They're saying their own national anthem. So that just the statement that you're making is just holds no water, because
that's another
Ukraine.
That's
let me finish. I sit there and let you just go on this big old rant that means nothing. Because the thing about it is that Ukraine is still flying their flag just like Hungary, just like Poland. They're still saying their own national anthem. And George Soros is not stopping that. Nobody is replacing their national flag with the EU flag.
That's the end goal, though. They're not doing it right now, but that's like the end goal.
And it doesn't negate my thing of George Soros is taking Ukraine to use it to add it to his list of countries that he controls. This is the reason why he's banned out of Poland. This is the reason why he's banned out of Hungary. Also, you said hold on one. You also said that they don't have no borders. Hungary and Poland have borders. They actually prevent refugees from coming inside. So therefore, the thing about you saying that they don't have no borders is not true.
I'm saying that's the end goal for the United States of Europe.
Okay, this is irrelevant to Ukraine. Basically, Putin does not want the Ukraine to get into NATO, and therefore they try to call his bluff, and therefore he's showing he's serious. That's all that is. So I don't blame Putin, actually, and I don't see him as the bad guy here. I see us, the United States, as the bad guy. I see NATO as the bad guy. I see Britain as the bad guy.
Like the far left does.
Are you saying I'm far left?
No, I'm saying no.
No,
I'm saying that it's
hold on.
Like
the far left don't agree with this because the far left is pro-Ukraine. No, they don't. They hate Russia.
They are. Oh no. Okay. So there's different types of the left. This is something that I have to normally explain a lot to. But
before you go on a rant, when you go on I need you to give me some receipts. When you go on Twitter, when you go on Facebook, when you go on Instagram, who on the left are you seeing saying "Yay, Russia"? Because overwhelmingly, I see nothing but blue and yellow flags. I see nothing with "I stand with Ukraine."
That's the thing, though. I mean, first of all, there's different types of the left. There's the every casual day left, and then there's the super far left, like the people that want like social like revolution, and the government be this man and want full on socialism and everything. And then there's just the annoying left that are like,
saying the commies
every now and then. Yeah, there's commies, and there's like casual liberals and stuff.
I don't see the commies being "Yay, Russia." You want to show me some receipts? Like seriously, show me where the commies are saying "Yay, let's go Russia."
They don't directly say "Yay, Russia," but what they do instead is they use different issues to detract from the situation, or they'll say,
"Okay, I am saying I stand with Putin. I don't blame him for what he's doing." And I stand with the Russian people, and I stand with Russia. And I don't see, and hold on. And that position is not a lefty position.
You don't see it on social media, but if you go through academia, there are professors that are far left.
I don't care about no professor. I'm just saying, like you want me to go visit some indoctrination place? Who's in power that actually is saying "Yay, Russia"?
I mean, Bernie Sanders has cheered on Russia for a long time.
Is he on Ukraine's side in reference to this matter, or he's on Russia's side?
However, I think this is.
I'll answer that question. He's on Ukraine's side. Stop it.
This is a situation where I think cancel culture and call-out culture has come to bite the left in the ass.
I don't care. I stand with Putin. I stand with Russia on this. Leave him alone. And I hope this teaches NATO and our country under Poopy Pants Biden to stop fucking with the bear. Okay, because for some reason they are not afraid of nukes for some reason. Because I don't know why would anybody fuck with Russia after Putin has been so patient with this shit. Okay, he doesn't want them on his doorsteps, just like America don't want any nukes from opposing countries on our doorsteps. We should give Russia the same respect. But because you hate Putin so bad, you're clouded by bias. And the thing about it is that is the reason why you can't understand his position.
Tell you why I hate Putin, but every time I try to bring everything up, you say, "Oh, that's irrelevant." I can't make my point across because you say, "Oh, it doesn't matter."
I kind of don't care because I only want to. You're right.
No,
you're
it
right.
seems like you're the one who's clouded by bias.
You're right. You're right. I'm clouded by the fact that we've been talking about everything but Ukraine. Fucked around and found out.
Mitt Romney himself warned us about Russia years ago. Republicans have warned us about Russia for years.
I'm
Obama
okay with
and Biden
Russia,
have
dude.
been way
I don't give a fuck
softer.
about no. Are you Mitt Romney? Are you really quoting that motherfucker? Mitt Romney, the rhino?
Oh gosh, I can't. I don't think I can deal with people who actually unironically use that term.
What term?
Rhino. Because, well,
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll
No,
take
we
out
need
Rhino. I'll take
rhinos.
out Rhino. Are you really defending Mitt Romney? Are you really quoting motherfucking Mitt Romney?
I'm saying that for the longest time, like, people on the right have been warning us about Russia for.
And guess
and
what?
it's always been
I
the
don't give a
left
fuck
that's
about
rolled over
the
and
people
let
on the
Russia
right.
fuck them in the ass.
The right politicians are nothing but a bunch of goddamn wimps. I don't give a fuck about these goddamn cowarded ass. Miss Lindsay is talking about assassinating the motherfucker. Okay, please don't think that I am going to defend somebody just because they have a right R by their names. Okay, there's a lot of fucked up Republicans, and so that's not going to win anything with me.
Good, that's good. Okay, so we were talking. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to think back where I got my point from. We're talking about rhinos.
So let's do this for another 10 minutes because we've been doing it for 2
I know.
hours.
Oh shoot, it's been 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh hot damn. I mean, all right. Okay, but yeah, one thing I had to I would say was I'm kind of really surprised at because for the longest time the far left that I've come to know, like the far left of like the socialists, the actual communists, have been surprisingly pro-Putin. It's just now that they're suddenly changing everything. That's why I'm a little suspicious, because for the longest time there's this organization called IYSSE, which is like International Youth for Socialist something, and for the longest time they've always been pro-Putin. They're super far left. They also care very strong, like Antifa. They also care very strongly about Palestine as well, and to the point where they will actually kick Jews out of their organization. But that's irrelevant. I'm sorry, that's a tangent. But the point is, they've been very pro-Russia for the longest time, and I find it very interesting that now they've suddenly taken a U-turn. Now that I think it's because it's popular, not necessarily because they wholeheartedly agree with it. Because for the longest time, like strong tankies and everything have been siding with, oh, Russia's just defending itself. China's just defending itself in Taiwan. Russia's just defending itself in Ukraine and Georgia. Those are all originally, it's just claiming what it's theirs. But this just proves just the horseshoe theory even further, that politics don't exist on the spectrum. They exist on a horseshoe, and the far left and the far right will come together on certain issues in the middle. And and it feels like that horseshoe is just becoming so much more evident with this entire issue.
Yeah, I don't see nobody really. I don't see anybody on the left or the right defending Russia and
I would say that those are more moderate than, and I kind of like that this isn't a left versus right issue. It feels more like a radical versus casual kind of view. Because when things get too politicized, nothing gets done. Like, I remember my point. Okay, so Tucker Carlson and like a lot of people go on about so Ukraine's border matters so much, but our border doesn't. And a lot of people bring that up a lot. I keep seeing that point constantly being brought up, but people don't realize that it's two different completely parts of government, that the same parts of government don't control foreign policy and the border. So foreign policy it has been polished over time to be as fast and so it can respond to whatever outside actions as swiftly as possible. Whereas when it comes to things like border control, you have but Congress also has a hand in that. So it's like I wouldn't blame like the
My
people who
argument
are
when it comes to
efficient.
borders in reference to Ukraine and us is that we should not even send anybody, no military, no border patrol, nothing over there to deal with what's going on over there with the Ukraine. We need to mind our business and deal with our own border. We need to deal with what's going on in America and leave what's going. But because we want to bully everybody and make them the way we want to make them, you know what I'm saying? That's the reason why he sent border patrol agents up there in Poland to deal with the refugees, and then he sent military people up there to help with NATO countries, and I'm like, we got a situation here in America that they're completely ignoring.
But these are two different parts of government.
It doesn't matter. America first. We need to look out for America, Ukraine. We need to look out for America first. Fuck all the UN countries too. We need to look out for America first. And because we have somebody who hates our country in the Oval Office, we're not looking out for Americans and America.
The UN, that's another joke. The UN, that's another joke.
So
the UN doesn't do shit.
Yeah, that's the thing in reference to the border. I don't think it's the same. I think we need to mind our business and deal with our own issues because we got lots of it instead of we just messing with other people's stuff.
Well, for me, it's kind of hard to get my point across without taking because normally what So I know a lot of people that are Ukrainian. I know a lot of people from the former USSR area because that's my area of specialty. And oh my gosh, I sound so weird whispering. Oh my gosh. So a lot of them end up being very, very right wing a lot of the time. Not like Nazi right wing, but like a lot of them would express the exact same sentiments that you would express, except maybe not being pro Putin, but like everything else on your channel, they would 100% absolutely agree with, because they love the Republican Party a lot, and like they love Trump a lot because they see anything that has anything to do with the government controlling any aspect of life, and they instantly think, oh, that's the Soviet Union right there. That's
Trump just respected Putin, something that other presidents did not do.
Yeah.
And actually, after doing some research on Putin and what he's doing, I respect him too. He's looking out for Russia. He's actually putting Russia first. And I like that because we're not doing that with this country. We're putting everybody else's problems in front of our own. We're letting all these people into this country from the border, and it's like I can go on and on, which is irrelevant. But the thing about it is that Putin is putting Russia first, and that's what a leader is supposed to do.
I mean, is putting Russia first also jailing thousands and thousands of people that don't like this war?
I read that that people who are actually violate some protesting laws get jailed. Oh well, I wish we could do that shit here, but we don't. We jail.
Freedom of speech.
We jail. Now we don't have no freedom of speech because we have had people who were at the Capitol who are still in jail right now. And one of them committed suicide. But we let people who killed David Dorn and the Black Lives Matter riotings and looting and assaults, we let them out of jail willy nilly, just like Zelensky did. I see a lot of comparison with what Zelensky did and versus what Democrats have done. But if they can put political prisoners, in jail, and especially and let's look at
poison
Canada
them and kill them,
well, I mean, Putin ain't doing it.
Yeah. Oh, he's not physically doing it, but he's ordering it.
You don't know that.
Navalny. Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, give me some receipts of him ordering somebody to get killed.
Him specifically? Well,
yeah, him specifically.
Of course, they're not going to release that.
Obviously, yeah. I don't do the conspiracy theory thing. Because everything I have
It's
shown you,
very,
I've shown you receipts, and I don't do the conspiracy theory. That's why, because I wanted to see, your hatred.
you talk about George Soros. How is that not a
I
conspiracy
can
theory?
prove to you the charities he has invested, and I can prove to you the money that he has invested in Ukraine. I can prove to you the organizations he has actually have in Ukraine. I can prove this. That's not a
All right.
conspiracy theory. I can also prove to you him saying that he actually helped. He actually stole from other Jews, and after he snitched about their whereabouts to the Nazis. Everything I said about George Soros, I
All
can
right.
prove. I don't. I
All
don't
right.
have no. I don't
I
have
look forward
no
to seeing it.
conspiracy theory when it comes to George Soros. Nice try, though.
Yeah, I'd actually like to see that because I actually do like listening to what
Okay,
I actually
I'll
do like
email
listening
it
to that
to
stuff.
you
But
because
yeah, because I'm kind of interested now in
here's
some of
something that has
Russia's.
happened the whole time we've been talking. I've been giving you receipts and you haven't given me nothing. So therefore, I'm the one proving my case, and I have been proving my case throughout this entire time.
Well, I
Because
did give.
that's the thing, and I'm okay with that. I'm used to providing receipts. But the thing about it is that what I want you to understand is that you haven't provided anything, and but I still stand on the fact that the reason why your judgment is cloudy when it comes to the unfairness against what's happening with Russia and Putin is because of your personal hatred with Putin. I was not a fan of Putin until I actually started to do some research about him and realized we're the baddies. We're the baddies.
Putin himself is a very interesting man. He did lift Russia out of the Soviet Union recession, and that is what made him very popular, and that is something that he definitely deserved to be commended for. But there is one more thing that I want to get across before I have to leave.
Okay.
Okay, so a while ago you mentioned about Ukraine and Russia being woke and how you were applauding Russia for kind of taking down its feminists and everything. And there is this one. Okay, this is Crouch made a pretty interesting video about this, and I think that he provides a lot of really good information there. But I want to make this very clear that the social environment in Russia and Ukraine is not the same as it is in the United States. Feminists in Russia actually do have legitimate concerns. The most biggest concern being domestic violence. As not that long ago, the Russian government basically made domestic violence a misdemeanor, and as a result, the number of deaths from women who are killed by their significant others every year skyrocketed to like thousands of women every single year. Like I think one woman died. I think like it was like one woman every. I'm not sure if they fixed it now, but I have high doubts. But the fact that it was mostly motivated by religion and like because I'm still trying to get a proper grasp on Orthodox Christianity. I grew up Catholic, but they had some kind of religious motivation. But because of this law, like if feminists in Russia legit do have some legitimate concerns to protest about, it's not like here in the U.S. where it's like, oh, we're protesting the wage gap, even though we don't really know how to explain the statistic. No, women. Russia is a very, very dangerous environment for women, and I mean it's a little bit better in Ukraine, but there's still a lot of stigma. Like LGBT gays can get married in Ukraine, but they can't really do anything else, and people still don't like gays. I would not say it's a very LGBT friendly country.
Which one, Russia or Ukraine?
I mean, Ukraine's better than Russia. I wouldn't say like it's all universally accepted. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it the title of like woke in that regard. But then it just depends on how you define woke.
I think anything that George Soros get his hands on is woke. And also there was a Black
that's
Lives.
your definition.
Well, also Black Lives Matter comes with George Soros because he sponsored them. And there's a Black Lives Matter. Also, when you send me the
I
email,
think there was a Black Lives Matter in a bunch of different cities at one point. Didn't it all die out? Like
not in Russia, because Putin challenged this black reporter and she challenged him in reference why he not allowing Black Lives Matter into Russia. But there was some Black Lives. I don't know if it's still there or not, but there was some Black Lives Matter chapters in Ukraine, and to my surprise, Poland too, which broke my heart.
I mean, like,
so when you
but
said,
how many members do they actually have, and how
it
influential
don't
are
even
they? That's
matter. The
question.
fact that they are there and that they had a little parade. I can show you the video too. They had an
Probably started by some
actual, in
Americans.
Poland, they had an actual Black Lives Matter parade.
It's actually was either started by some American exchange student or a bunch of like Gen Zers that spend all their day on TikTok, because
Don't
anyone older
matter.
than that-
One thing I like about Russia, there ain't no Black Lives Matter parade up in there. But they did it to poor old Poland, and I love Poland. Poland has my heart. I love them, but that hurt my feelings when I saw that damn parade. And you're right, it wasn't big compared to America, but the fact that I'm seeing people walking, I didn't want to talk about it no more. It's so depressing.
I mean, there was at one point, like, I think there was a BLM Tokyo. I saw it like once, like a few years ago, and then just off the map. I feel like these are just all Americans that are just trying to bring their issues overseas and don't understand that the world isn't the United States. And this happens in a lot of, I see this happen in a lot of different issues. Like, there's a lot of, like, when it comes to a lot of internet cultures, a lot of culture class, like, oh, you can't say that, that's very offensive. But like Eastern, like, this is often and happens between like Eastern Europeans or like Russians and like Western Europeans and like Americans, Canadians, like people in
Like
Eastern Europe have
Russians, they have
a different sense of humor.
They
and I
don't
can
have
like their,
that pronoun stuff. They don't have that, oh my God, hate speech stuff. They so awesome. We have that bullshit here.
yeah. I do like their sense of humor. They're very like, they don't care about whatever. It reminds me of the early Wild West days of the internet.
Yeah.
And that's something I sometimes have a hard time explaining. Like, who are we to really tell the world that, oh, this is the new standard and sense of humor?
Well, that's my problem
so
with NATO, because they are trying to westernize other countries in the east of Europe, and I think I'm against that. I never thought I would be like this until I actually did some digging. I'm like, dude, NATO. You know what I'm saying?
Well, for me, I think that a lot of it also comes with money, because a lot of NATO countries, after joining NATO, it led them to develop further developing their relationship with.
Is
the
Greece
United
part of
States.
NATO?
Yes, it is.
Well, that just destroyed your argument, didn't it?
I'm saying it led to developing more things with the West, which is well, Greece is far better off than any country in the CIS. Like,
What
if you
is
compare
any country to the CI? What is the CIS?
the Commonwealth of Independent States, basically all the states that rely on Russia, like Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. If you compare Greece to that, then Greece is doing
They ain't better
very
than
well.
Russia.
Yeah, because Russia.
I don't know
has a bunch
about a lot of
countries
these
that
other
leeches off of.
countries. I cannot see. This is areas I don't know.
Yeah,
So
and you have to understand these areas, and if you do
Yeah, but
understand these
I
areas,
do
then
know
you
Russia.
might see what I see.
I do know Russia, and I do know Greece ain't better than Russia.
Because Russia has other countries it can leech off of. That's why.
Hell, what do you
Ukraine-
think Greece was doing? Who do you think been giving Greece money? They've been leeching off of fucking United Nations. How many times has the United Nations gave them a fucking handout?
You mean the European Union?
Yeah.
Ah.
So if you want to talk about leash, no offense, my people in Greece. Mwah, I love you. I know people in Greece are going to be like, oh my, but it's the truth. Like, if you want to talk about leeches, okay. It
Yeah,
don't
well,
get no more lynchy than damn Greece. I love you, Greece. I love you. I love you, Greece. I love you. No harm, but y'all broke as hell. Y'all always asking for a handout, and the United Nations always giving it to you. Always financially bailing y'all out every damn time. All right. Well, do you have any final? Because it's coming up to.
oh yeah, damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll let you get the final word in.
Honestly, it's kind of hard to really it would be hard to understand if you can't put yourself in the shoes of everyday Ukrainians. I mean, it's easy for me to do because I know a lot of these people, and to me, they're everyday people. They don't. And seeing what has been put out there about these people and about Russia, and whenever I hear people praise Russia, I think of the genocides it's committed against Ukrainian genocides it's committed in Abkhazia and South Ossetia, Georgians, and all the other horrible things it's done, and that how all the other things that Putin has condoned, and all the journalists he's killed, and so
Putin didn't kill no journalists.
And so I take into account all of that, and looking at from applying international relations theory, it's, and of course due to my own ethnic heritage, it's hard for me not to stand in solidarity with my Ukrainian brothers and sisters.
But you're German and Polish, right?
Yes.
Okay. Am I missing something?
Poland has a very strong connection with Ukraine, and they always will.
I guess the reason why it's hard for me to see, and you're right, I'm not there, but I can't sympathize. I cannot relate to people who tolerate actual neo-Nazis. To take not only to be a seen force within their country, but to also hold political positions. Like, America would lose their shit if we have actually had actual neo-Nazis become one of the members of the House of Representatives. Like, I don't even see that. But we don't tolerate neo-Nazis here. So the fact that Ukraine does.
I just didn't appreciate the fact that, well, looking at the party, it's only like there's only one seat in the Duma that it was occupying. But yeah, anyways, it just feels like the entire country is being compared to the neo-Nazi group, and that's kind of, I've been to places that have experienced war. I've seen war. I've seen people suffer from it, and I just think there could have been, Putin could have done a much better solution to this then. Instead of, I think this could have had a much better solution. All right, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
I apologize for my exhaustion and my ADHD.
And you know what? Let me also apologize, because I didn't know you had ADHD, and as you notice, I got real heated. And now, when as you notice, once I realized you had that, that's when I started to calm down, because I was getting really angry with you. But that was because I didn't know you had ADHD.
I thought I said it at the beginning, but I guess it was a little quiet. I'm sorry.
If you know what you could have, and I probably wasn't paying attention. I probably was writing notes or something like that. You probably did, but when you said it later, that's all like, oh, okay, let's stop losing your cool with her. It's because she's and as you notice, I started to get more patient and then start letting you get your words out and stuff like, because now I knew what I was dealing with, you having lack of sleep, and then also with your ADHD. Then that's when I started to be more understanding. And so as you notice, that's when I realized that's when I kind of calmed down.
Yeah, I try my best to try to get as many points of views as possible, because not a lot of people want to go out of their way to engage with people they disagree with these days, and I think that's very sad.
No, I enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I also get really excited getting to talk about this region of the world. I also learn more. I get to learn more about why people think the way they do. And I get to, because ever since I started writing articles for my new job, it's learning, and I had to write an article about why our Azerbaijanis deny the Armenian genocide, even though it's something that I would strongly disagree with. Just learning about it and learning about why people think the way they do, I believe, is very important in order to fix the division in this country.
Okay.
So I'm very glad you took the time to talk to me today.
Well, I thank you, because a lot of people don't offer the time to talk with me. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming and talking as well. And maybe we can do this again. I doubt it that I'll have any, because that seems to be the only thing we would probably disagree on. But if I have any more hot takes on Ukraine and Russia,
or I would love to hear about your time in Germany. I mean, you spent a few years there. I remember looking at some of your self-defense videos before I was going over there, because I was in Freiburg, which is where Maria Ladenburger was murdered. Yeah. So that was actually another scandal.
That makes me feel happy that some women are actually looking at those videos where I was teaching self-defense, because that was bothering me about the whole rape gangs and stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, one of those incidents happened while I was over there, actually.
Yeah.
And the far right party, which is the only party that really spoke up about this issue at the time.
AFD.
AFD. Yeah, they're also very. They're also very. A lot of people call them neo-Nazi.
Yeah, but they're not neo-Nazis. Yeah,
not. That's why when I hear that,
these are legitimate. You can. I gave you the list. You can go research it.
Thank you. I will.
Yeah, and you'll see for a fact that these are legit neo-Nazis.
Yeah, but you can understand why I had that hesitation, because I just heard it so many different times. But
and it was done by design so that because I did the same thing. Because I had to actually ask my chat, because I kept hearing the neo-Nazis, and I asked my chat. I said, chat, do they really have neo-Nazis? I think this was this past Sunday, and my chat was like, yeah, Tree, they actually. And that's when I started to do some research, and I was shocked.
Oh yeah, I actually did a whole report about the AFD. It's very interesting. They had so much inter-party drama, like where they threw all the potential like controversial people out. One of the guys said that the Holocaust Memorial in the center of Berlin was like a monument of shame, and that like split the party in two. Mm. Oh my! It was a big drama fest, and it was just entertaining to watch. But yeah, I also found I also really liked your takes on like your thoughts on like Gabby Petito and everything, and just whenever you talk about your experiences as a former police officer, that's always very interesting to me.
Well, thank you.
I mean, my family kind of has a really strong support for police officers. My brother used to live in St. Louis, and he had to go there for school, and he was shot at because he was the wrong race in the wrong area.
Oh, so, wow. Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah, and I do have a YouTube channel. It's not completely apolitical. It's just talking about anime.
Do you want me to leave a link in the...
No. I promise I wouldn't talk about politics again on my YouTube channel. Specifically because of this, they found a private conversation that I had about BLM, about talking about my brother, and they used that as a way to try to cancel me.
Oh,
And
okay.
then I had all these people telling that my brother deserved to be shot at. So yeah, that was
Yeah,
that was
it's
a
for a
little
lot of
rough.
people, a lot
That's
of
why
bad people out
that's
there.
why I do not want to be credited and for my YouTube channel. It's yeah, they took a lot of stuff out of context. Being canceled is not fun. And I hate to say it, but it kind of whipped me into it really whipped me into being very quiet about everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just it feels good to just talk to somebody and just like,
Well, let's do this again.
yeah,
Okay.
maybe. Well,